This is Breaking Down Security, and I'm Bryan Brake. Welcome back, listener. This is Bryan, and always Mr. Boettcher for Breaking Down Security.
Hey.
Hey. So, how was your week?
Good.
Yeah?
Lots of work to do, but hell, just getting through it.
Yeah. It's
learning me some security.
Been a pretty eventful week. We had the hacking team write-up come out and talking about various exploit kits. And, that's I think that's what we're talking about this week, ain't it? About what an exploit kit is and how they work.
That's what they told me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it in the mail, and sometimes I pick these things up. It's kind of fortuitous. It seems like everybody's talking about these things. I got an ISSA catalog or ISSA magazine this month, just a few days ago, and they were talking about ransomware and stuff. And it just seems like everybody's talking about it. I don't know if it's because they've become the new hotness in the vulnerability world because it's so lucrative, or what.
Well, I've noticed that I had one of our hospitals, just a small town, about an hour away from where I live, got hit with ransomware, paid $16,000 to get all their data back. And it didn't even, make the news.
Yeah.
Just the local paper. Right?
Well, I can understand.
It goes to show you how many are there out there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think this is very widespread. I think we don't hear about a lot of the smaller stuff. As a matter of fact, I don't normally read my newspaper that comes to my house, but our local newspaper here talked about the IT director at the city talking about ransomware. One of the fire districts here had to pay $750 because somebody had clicked on a fake invoice email that encrypted all of the files on their computer, locking away important information and holding it for ransom. So yeah, I think that's definitely a thing. They talked about the fact that there was no backups because they were in transition between systems, which seems to me that's cover your ass speak for we don't do backups. I could be wrong on that, but it's interesting how it just seems like people don't think about, they click on the emails, they click on the ads and the links to, and they get these drive-bys. So that's, you get exploit kits. And so maybe you could get us back on track here, Mr. Boettcher, and explain what an exploit kit does.
Well, exploit kits have been around for a while. I don't know how long. I didn't even write that down. Maybe since the early 2000s, I want to say. And basically, they are for. I mean, the way the black hats use them, they are mainly web based. So what they do is they have exploits contained in some sort of a framework, right? And that's all they do is they exploit the whatever vulnerability is there, and they execute whatever code that you want to execute on the system. So if you have a particular piece of malware that you want to spread, you would probably buy yourself an exploit kit to be able to exploit different systems and run your malware on those machines. So they usually come in the form of an easy install script, where if you were to hack a website or you had one available, you would run the exploit kit installer on that website. And then from there, you can, that's your command and control. You can execute your payload from that.
Okay, so what you're describing sounds like Metasploit.
Well, Metasploit does do some of that, yes. It does a lot more. It does post-exploit.
Sure.
So the difference is the Black Hat exploit kits are only for the exploitation piece. They don't do any post-exploit
Yeah.
other than just run whatever malware or executable you want to run.
Okay. So they just get you in the door,
They get you in the door.
and then you have to pick whatever, and I guess it allows you to customize your payload. So if you're targeting certain institutions, or you want it to mine Bitcoins, or you want it to deface a web page, or whatever you're wanting to hacking team, then you would tailor the payload thusly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like you tailor the payload. They kind of run, from what I could tell, they kind of sit there and run, right? Mm-hmm. You can have like a malicious ad somewhere that communicates with your exploit kit.
Okay.
Yeah. So they sit there and run, and they kick off these different exploits. Mm-hmm. What I did was I typed in Google exploit kit, and then I clicked on images, and you can see some of the GUIs associated with. You got Exploiter 2011, mm-hmm. right? And it has let me see, the image comes up. It's a bunch of Chinese writing, right?
Well, be careful, bro.
What's that?
You said it was all just Chinese writing or whatever. Just be careful trying to look at things, but
well, they're images.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, black hole, and they even have metrics on here, like which exploit attacked which machines and what percentage were successful. And there's one for Windows 98 here. This is an old version of black hole. Windows 98, 33% successful.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Firefox, 12% successful. And it tells you what countries the IPs are from, and so yeah, they have pretty nice GUIs.
Yeah.
Associated with them, and the thing is, they're easy to use. They're easy to install, and you connect to them from the web. They've got a web front end. Pretty pictures. A lot of them look like they're HTML5.
Yeah.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. RoboPack exploit kit. Nice images. Real fancy stuff.
Yeah. You and I were trying to figure out before the podcast started which there was like a malware framework or a malware type that was very popular being sold on the dark markets and stuff. And I think it was Zeus that I was thinking of, where, the guy made it and it was completely extensible and you could add modules to it and whatever. And it was, customized it however you want it to be. And there, obviously people had forked it and he was selling it for quite a bit of money. The funny thing is exploit kits could also be like regular software, like Market, for instance. If you were able to put a spoofed app up on there. I know back in November 2015, they had spoofed versions of uBlock Origins and other applications that were, allowed you to put malware on hosts, and you were using basically Apple Store or the Chrome Store in this case to perpetuate your malware. So in many ways, that was an exploit kit of sorts, or an exploit framework.
Yeah, that was part of it.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about how they work. Well, in order to get someone to be exploited, a lot of times they'll provide malicious links, right? Mm-hmm. They'll spam a bunch of people with a link. And if that link is clicked on, it takes the user to that server that runs the exploit kit.
Yep.
And then the exploit kit will kind of fingerprint the client for vulnerabilities, right? And it may try several of them based on what kind of machine it thinks it is.
Yeah.
Basically they attack browser vulnerabilities. They can attack browser plugin vulnerabilities, like maybe Flash, for example. I don't know if you've ever heard of a Flash vulnerability.
No,
yeah, they can definitely attack Flash plugins.
That's not possible. Flash is impervious to things and stuff. So
that's right, and they can also offer pop-ups. Beef does this.
The browser
you pop
exploitation framework, you mean?
the browser exploitation framework. That's
Yeah.
right. So that's a type of exploit kit that red teamers and pen testers will use.
Yep.
But yeah, it has a lot more than well, it does more post exploit.
Mm-hmm.
The exploit kits, like I said, only get the hackers in the door. It's what they do afterwards is up in the air. So if they have some ransomware they want to distribute, well, they'll likely have an exploit kit. If they want to do it through the web, send malicious links, and the exploit kit will upload the ransomware and execute it on the victim's system.
Yep.
Pop-ups to update Adobe Flash.
WordPress.
Not just exploiting Adobe Flash that's there,
Mm-hmm.
but they'll give you a pop-up that say, "Hey, you need to update your software. Click here to update."
Yeah.
Usually it's something like Flash, and then if there's no vulnerabilities, then typically they'll get the user to click and give the exploit kit privileges on the machine, and then once the user gives privileges, it'll upload some malware and execute it.
Yeah, and it's not just application. You can do it in a Word document too. You can have it do a pop-up and go, well, I'd love to be able to run this content for you, but you got to enable macros, or, hey, this font is only available from this website. To be able to view it properly, click here to do so. And by doing so, you're going to download a file basically and infect yourself. The other one that I was talking about, and I interrupt you and I apologize, is the WordPress. Vulnerable WordPress servers will, I think a very popular one is called Angler. It's a malware network where it will, a vulnerable WordPress server will go to a compromised subdomain, which will then forward you to another server, which will then, send out the exploit or the malware that they're wanting to serve you.
Right. So what they'll do is they'll have a server that hosts the exploit kit, like Angler in this case. So they'll have an Angler server, which is typically, so they don't get caught, not their server. It's a server that was compromised.
Yep.
And it has the exploit kit there. So that's basically command and control as far as they're concerned before the malware actually reaches the victim. Yeah. So then they'll compromise a WordPress site and put a link there or malicious ad to take them to the exploit kit. So if you visit a site that could be popular, like CNN or something,
Forbes,
and it has a Forbes, it has an ad in there or a link, or it just has a malicious iframe that takes you to the exploit kit server. That's all it takes.
Yep.
And then you can become the victim of Angler. Maybe you'll get a pop-up. It depends on what the hacker. I hate to call them hackers because this is like hacking for dummies, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't really have to be able to code anything or be able to write their own malware. It's just that they buy this and they install it somewhere. Maybe they buy a compromised server from someone else.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
You never know what goes on in the dark web.
Exactly. So let's see. They try to get your own software. So
it really doesn't require any technical skill to run an exploit kit. If I had $10,000 to spend, then I could buy Angler and play with it. I mean, I could,
how
have it up and running in no time at all.
How much you say? $10,000?
Yeah. So some of them cost $10,000 to start it up. This is what I was reading on all these forums and things. Now that may be old pricing because maybe some of these kits are older and they don't have many modules. Let's talk about that. I mean, the module piece, right? So if you have an exploit kit, it has to have some CVEs or modules that have these vulnerabilities that you can run.
Yeah.
right? So if you buy an exploit kit, you've got to have certain vulnerabilities that are, well, sort of like modules in Metasploit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some work better than others. Some only work if you have that vulnerability on your machine.
So you buy an exploit kit, it probably has 10 modules in it, right? That have a good chance of working. And when I say good chance, I'm saying maybe 10%, 15% of users will be exploitable for those.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty good odds right now, because you have to update. Some people don't, and then they're vulnerable to these exploits. And then you could buy modules from the providers.
Yeah.
Right. So if they buy an O-Day and they're able to resell it to all of their buyers, they create a module for their exploit kit, and they're able to sell those and use them. Those are rare. The O-Days are pretty rare because they could get found out easily if it mass distributes everywhere all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you create an O-Day module and it gets popular enough, or all these threat intelligence companies who are watching for this kind of stuff, they're going to develop defenses for that. So you're going to have to go in and change the hashes, or change the checksums on your malware so that it doesn't show up in things like VirusTotal or what have you.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the things that are contained, if you were to buy one of these, if you were to turn criminal and buy an exploit kit, it comes with, of course, the exploits.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You also get tech support.
That's right.
Right? That's cool.
I think I saw one of the recent ones that you could open up a chat window and actually talk to the bad guys, or talk to the script kiddies or whatever to understand what's going on and what your options are at that point.
Right. And you get updates, obviously.
Yep. I guess even their software gets bugs too. So yeah.
And they also come with website infectors, right? I mentioned the iframes. So you can find a vulnerable site and say, hey, infect that site.
Yep. Right.
Some of these kits have that option. So that you can start getting traffic from multiple places, right? If you find, for example, 50 vulnerable WordPress websites, from your Shodan query, you can just point your exploit kit to them, and hopefully they'll be able to auto infect them, and then you'll start getting traffic from there.
Yep.
You get metrics, like what's working, what's not, how many victims you have, how many uploads you got. Sometimes if you have an exploit kit, people with malware may pay you to upload and execute their malware on so and so many victims. Pay per install, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They come with a web interface, and
you've already talked about the metrics part. It's kind of interesting. They pull metrics to show the effectiveness of their plugins or their malware.
They're different modules, not the malware, but it's the modules that they have to exploit the vulnerabilities. Exploit kits typically don't come with any malware. You have to provide your own. All they're doing is
they're giving you a
exploiting
platform.
the vulnerability. Yeah,
they're giving you a stage and you get to perform. Yeah,
exactly.
It's interesting as detail minded as a lot of these folks are. A lot of companies would kill to have these kinds of process, strictly by the process, going for metrics, going for key performance indicators, those kinds of things, in a legitimate business, because they can't seem to find people who want to, because, finding metrics and, doing key performance indicators and, what software works and whatever, analytics and those things like that. That's hard to come by for some companies. And yet these people are making thousands and thousands of dollars, for nefarious reasons. And they're just basically, if they would just turn themselves in a more legitimate direction, they would probably find themselves at a fairly decent job that would not put them in prison.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
possibly, but I guess there's a thrill in creating these and creating something like this.
That's true.
Um,
That's true.
you
You know,
know,
the
the
hacker ethos is, not watching the world burn necessarily, but it's the big guy versus the little guy. So it's David and Goliath kind of thing. So
yeah. So the authors of these kits really need to keep their kits up to date with the
mhm.
latest exploits, because
Yeah,
obviously if a CVE comes out and you're able to write as an author of these kits an exploit for your kit, there's going to be a gradual trend downward over time of the effectiveness of your exploit, right? So you constantly have to keep, or they constantly have to keep updated with
yeah,
new modules, and of course, when they sell to Joe Hacker their kit, and you got a new module for them, they may pay a premium for that particular module um, because of the metrics they're going to get from that module. Their exploit, I guess, percentage is going to be higher because it's a new module.
yeah,
People take a long time to update, so that thing's going to work more effectively than the older things. And then they have a reputation to uphold
hmm
on the the criminal websites. They'll it's all about reputation.
yeah,
As far as if somebody is looking to buy an exploit kit, which one should they buy? Is it a good deal? Does it have good reviews?
yeah.
Right. Oh, I've got great numbers with this, or this other one doesn't work. These modules are old. It's not worth my time. Things like that. So, yeah. So you're not going to detect a particular exploit kit, like black hole,
Yeah.
in your environment,
You're going to
unless
detect
there's some
it's.
kind of
You're going to detect
unless
the
there's like
malware, right?
yes, you're going to
Yeah.
detect whatever comes out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing executes on the machine, unless there's a certain signature that these particular kits give. But I doubt it, because the CVEs, the particular vulnerability should be the same. If one writes one, it should look the same as a lot of the others. I could be wrong.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe if you do a packet capture on your endpoint, you'll be able to see different signatures. But I don't know. Leave that to the researchers. It doesn't really matter to me. All I'm interested in my job is finding the particular payload and looking for artifacts that thing has, not necessarily the kits.
I wonder what the EULA would be like for something like this. Do you think they actually read their end user license agreements, or what? I mean, what does that look like? You're not going to use it against certain adversaries. If a platform or an exploit developer uses it against somebody that the creator of Angler is friendly with, is he going to get in trouble for that? I wonder how they. Obviously you can't police these things because they don't like law enforcement anyway. So it amazes me the ethics and the thought process involved, because there's obviously stuff that you wouldn't want to use this on because it would bring you in a negative light, or cast a light upon you, so that you would be law enforcement would want to be after you.
Yeah, I really don't know how the EULA would work in some of these. I'm looking at the Phoenix exploit kit now with a 13% on Microsoft Internet Explorer percentage. How many exploited? 3,000. Yeah, these guys are proud of their running their kits,
Sure.
right? So they put images online of how good they are.
You mean
things
like
like
of
that.
systems that have been owned by IP address or something?
Yeah, 4,000 systems were owned with Firefox. Got a 10% hit rate out
Nice.
of, so many visits.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I really haven't researched how you know, the psychology behind, well, I got this kit. Can I just post it on, um, the installer and distribute it, right? Or resell it.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. I'm guessing there's a license for that, and you have to enter a license key.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's a one-time thing, and it's only for that particular build of the software. That's what I'm guessing. So you can only use it once. You can't distribute it. But yeah.
What? You mean you can't, thief it and use it elsewhere without paying for it?
I'm sure the developers have some kind of controls over that, right?
Yeah, it makes me wonder if they don't put back doors in for their own stuff. So if they want to pull the nuclear option, they can take over the stuff that's already been deployed.
Possibly, but they wouldn't know where it was installed.
True. Very true. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to, if anybody out there's listening and you're shaking your head and going, no, this is all wrong. You guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. Please feel free to reach out to us. The contact information will be at the back, and we'll have you on the podcast so you can tell us how bad we were or not were. So let's see, what else did we have to discuss? There were various different types. There's actually malware that will uninstall other malware or exploit kits.
That's the malware, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously with malware, you're going to get different kinds of malware. So you use a Phoenix toolkit. You use malware to uninstall old malware to get rid of your competition, to make your metrics look better. So
yeah, a lot of these, I mentioned the update your software exploit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not really an exploit. It's just social engineering, trying to get the user to click on something and give it privileges. And we're kind of our own worst enemy there, because we keep telling people, oh, you got to update,
mm-hmm.
right? Otherwise, you're going to get owned. And then they see this pop-up that says, hey, you need to update. And they're like, oh, okay, they've been telling me to update all the time, so I'm going to go ahead and update. And then all of a sudden, they can't access their files anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, they can make those things look super legitimate, and maybe it's something that we need to be better about pushing the patches ourselves instead of requiring the user to make that kind of decision. If we take it out of their hands, then we don't have to worry about them automatically updating Flash, Adobe Flash or something like that instead of Adobe Flash, and giving us giving us an infection in our environment.
Something to be said.
Yeah. So, was there anything else we wanted to talk about with this? Because I've got something I would like to discuss. Yeah.
No, I mean, in summary, it's exploit kits are not malware, right? They're just to exploit the systems, and then whoever's running the kit uploads their own malware.
Yeah. And they all follow like 4 steps. There's contact, where you're visiting a website or a link. You get redirected to the exploit server kit, and then the exploit server will send you the ransomware, the Trojan, or the malware.
Yep.
And that's how it works. And they pretty much are all following that same kind of model.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. I got into a discussion with Mr. McDouglas. He's been on our podcast, Better Safety Net, kind of a PowerShell guru. He knows a fair bit about PowerShell, and we were talking about the constant news articles about the fact that there's so many open positions and there's a lack of talent in the InfoSec community, and I raised some interesting questions. I was like, so have we priced ourselves out of a lot of positions? My whole thought was, we laugh about the government not paying what we consider to be market value for our stuff, but have we become so jaded by, have we overinflated our own value to the point where we are unhireable? Because if we don't take, if we're not getting, 65 an hour, then we're just not going to take that job. I mean, are we really believing that, our job is worth 65 an hour for what we do? And I got into that with him, that maybe there isn't a lack of talent, it's a lack of people who are, they got an overinflated sense of self, or they got a job that didn't know what to pay them, so they got an exorbitant amount of money, and now they expect that at every job, and then it was just kind of endemic because security was kind of a big thing. So I was wanting to find out, Mr. Boettcher, if you had what your thought was about the talent gap that is out there, supposedly, quote unquote.
Well,
this is completely off the cuff. I'm sorry I didn't mean to put you on the spot. This is completely off the cuff, and I understand if you're you got to think about it for a few seconds.
I think the people who say there's a talent gap, I think that has some merit to it. When you say there's we've overinflated, like we're sitting on a bubble right now, right?
Yeah.
Of there's some of us who believe they're worth more, and I don't get what you were saying, that there's a lack of talent, but I can't find a high enough paying job. Or do we demand too much for our skills that companies are only willing to hire one of us and they can't hire three of us like they were supposed to, or they need? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I do think there is a huge need for people like us out there because of the growing. I mean, look at ransomware.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hitting everybody.
Sure.
Right. At our companies, yours and mine, we're getting hit weekly, if not daily. Right.
True. But my point is, okay, so you've got different facets of IT industry. You've got the government, you've got financials, you've got the Uber startups, you've got the threat intelligence companies, and each one of those people value information security professionals at a different level. The government has their pay grade system, so they're kind of stuck in that. I mean, unless you're actually going to pick up a contractor, who's working for like Tech Systems or, Cognizant or Apex or something like that, the government's going to end up paying them a lot of money anyway. Being a 2210, which is what I was when I was in the government service, that's an IT infrastructure, information security type dude. I was making, as a GS11 back in the day, of course, this was back 2003, 2004, I was only making $52,000 a year. But for me, that was good money because right out of the Navy, I was only making 35 as a second class. So that was great money for me. But then it was like, now my job has gone up to the point where it's like, well, I could take a job that would allow me to do X, Y, and Z, and that would be a really great thing, but I can't take a 30% pay cut to go work for this company. It's like, man, I'd love to have an opportunity to do that, but you're not giving me what I'm expecting to get for the level that I'm going to be making. So, and of course, those people, either they don't know, or maybe the company that I'm working for is overvalued the position, which has spoiled me for other companies that may take me or that may want me, but only willing to pay, 30% less, Right. That was my point. Maybe companies don't even know what the value of their people are, to good or ill. I mean, it's great that my company's paying me what they're paying me, but if I wanted to go and work at, I don't know, some financial firm, and they're like, well, you're doing this, which translates to this job, and it makes, $80K a year. And I'm like, yeah, okay, it's a great job, but no, that kind of thing. So, I mean, that was my only thought.
Well, I think the market is going to dictate that in the long run. I mean, if someone's overpaid right now and they want a different job, they're probably not going to find another job at their same pay.
Yeah.
Right. So they're probably going to stay where they're at.
if
for a
they
while
can.
longer.
Yeah, if they can.
If they can. And
Yeah.
if they can't, well, then the market's going to dictate their salary,
True.
right?
True.
In line with their skills.
Yeah.
Now they got to do their homework too. They got to search for the right job that, maybe they'll find another company that's willing to pay more for their skills than market value. That's great. It's like a full-time job trying to get a job.
Sure.
If you want to do it right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's market's going to dictate it. If security people are overpaid right now, it's just because there aren't enough of them. And if there start to get too many of them, like a lot of colleges are getting the idea that, hey, this is a market to where we can educate people to be security, to be in IT security, give them an IT security degree, and they're going to get a job, and that's gonna make our numbers really well, and
Sure.
people will flock to our college, right? So there may be a flood of people over the next 10 years that come into security, and it just saturates, and then salaries start to go down. I mean, that's something we have to live with. Or every industry has this.
Yeah. Yeah. My other question was, if we keep saying it, does that necessarily make it true? Whether it be diversity or lack of talent, it just seems like the more and more we say it, it's like, oh yeah, we can find, examples of that being true, but I'm just wondering if we didn't look hard enough in with regard to talent gap or whatever, because we talk about, OPM got breached, and the amount of money that they pay for government workers is awful. That's just an example of the government not being able to move fast enough to change their grade or pay grade system to support a more technical workforce, in my opinion.
Right. And that's unfortunate. If you move too slow, you won't find the talent you need.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. To be able to have success,
yeah.
or to not get breached. Right.
Yeah. Because most of those jobs that I see advertised for on OPM site is like a 9-11-13 type position, or a 9-11-13. Yeah, that's right. Which is, a 13, I think maxed out is just barely like $110,000, but you have to have like 20 years in for to get that kind of money. When I was, what I'm making now is like what they call SES pay, which is like you have to be congressionally, appointed to get that kind of pay. And, I'd love to work for the government, but there's a lot of issues with that. I mean, there's not, benefits. I don't mind taking less pay if the benefits are excellent, but it's not really. So I think it would be great for like a starter position if you're looking for like an analyst type position, or you're coming right out of the military. If you can get a job as a GS, that would be great, because you can count your military service with your government service. I have several friends who do that. So anything you want to rant about, Mr. Boettcher?
Oh, there's lots of things, but we don't have to. We don't have to bore anybody.
No, we're not boring anybody, because I want to hear what your opinion is on something. So please put me on the spot, just like I put you on the spot.
Well, I see a lot of interest in forensics, right? And I'm not sure if that has enough, like we were saying, where you have to have the right market for that. I'm not sure if there's enough market for forensics right now.
Really?
I mean, because most companies probably can't afford to have a guy spend 2 weeks analyzing a particular breach or a piece of malware, something like that. It might be more cost effective to hire a company that specializes in forensics.
Oh, I see. So full-time forensic people is not, you're not going to give that as your full-time job. It's going to be like another duty as assigned.
It's going to be either a very large company that can afford to have somebody in forensics on staff, or it'll be a company that specializes in forensics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I think most companies would have somebody that specializes in detection and or prevention.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as forensics goes, yeah, I don't see it.
Well,
And you see a lot of buzz in forensics because it's cool. You get down to the bit level and you're looking for what exactly happened to the system. But that takes a long time and it's very expensive.
yeah. Well, isn't digital forensics and by extension incident response, shouldn't blue teamers be training on those kinds of things anyway to have like a basic understanding? I mean, you're not going to be doing bit by bit memory things, but at least you should be able to go through, look at, file artifacts, log files, be able to, if everything's set up properly, you should be able to go through your environment, not a byte by byte thing. I mean, those things are a little bit overkill. If you're having to get down to that point, you should definitely be looking at a professional company to come in and do memory, carving and, checking out artifacts inside of memory, I would imagine.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to have an understanding of forensics, but you don't have to be an expert at it. And, the average blue teamer that is, just understand how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And if a breach were to happen, then you can more easily hand off to, a consultant.
Yeah.
And I think blue teamers should have a pretty good understanding of logs and things like that, more the IR type roles.
Yeah.
That's what most of them should focus on. Not really get down into the weeds of forensics. Leave that to the specialists, the people who specialize in forensics.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's going to be a huge calling for, the high level digital forensics, like, what we're thinking. That's more of definitely a specialized trade, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it's typically you don't need forensics day to day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sally got hit with malware. Okay, go ahead and reimage. We don't have to forensically analyze what happened and why she clicked that link and all of the, the intricacies, what happened on the hard drive, how it worked. Just reimage and move on.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe ask her what happened. Did you go to a particular website? Did you get a phishing email? Things like that. How can we avoid that in the future? But yeah, really don't need to know, dissect the computer at that point. Take an image of the hard drive and, seal it up in a, manila envelope and ship it somewhere. Yeah, just move on.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're wanting to, look at incidents of compromise for, profiling of, if you think it's a bigger problem, looking for attribution really isn't helpful to a normal day-to-day workplace. So you just, that just impedes progress. So you want to, wipe the box and start over.
Yeah, leave attribution to the government, right? Yeah. If it's, if you think it's North Korea, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it was a hacked website with an Angler exploit kit in North Korea, right?
Yeah.
But the real person running the show was back in the U.S. You never know.
Yep.
So yeah, the attribution aspect is, leave that to the forensics guys and the FBI or whatever.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess in that case, the FBI is going to be where they're going to be paying the big bucks for those kinds of folks. So back to your job, back to the lack of, talent. It's like some of those people don't really need to be. I'm sorry. The FBI is going to be pulling up the technical people and needing the digital forensics folks, and
Yep, but if you find that you enjoy that as a hobby and you want to move into that, then that's great. You can be one of those that work for a large company or a consulting firm that specializes in that kind of thing. But yeah, it all depends on what your passion is.
Yep. Well, Mr. Boettcher, this has been a very interesting podcast, both technically and subject-wise. So I'm hoping that in the future here we'll have somebody who can come on and speak more intelligently about the malware and the platform stuff. Are we looking at somebody like that in the near future?
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, excellent.
I hope so.
Excellent. So, as always, how would people get a hold of you, Mr. Boettcher, if they'd like to talk to you?
My Twitter account is @BoettcherPwned, BoettcherPwned.
Excellent.
You can also find me on log-md.com.
What's the other one? IMF Security?
IMF Security. Yes.
IMF Security. All right. So the official BreakSec podcast Twitter is @BreakSec, BRAKESEC. You can follow me personally. I'm @Bryan Break. That's BRYAN and BRAKE. All one word. So we're on Facebook. The new thing this week, apparently Google has started allowing people to subscribe to podcasts on their system. So if you go to the Google Play Store, under Google Music, you can look for our podcast. If you're not a fan of the iTunes and you don't want to use the RSS reader, you can download our podcast through Google Play Store. So that's pretty awesome. There's a link in the show notes for that if you want that. We're on LinkedIn. We're on medium.com. We're on Tumblr. We're on Facebook, Stitcher, player.fm. There's really pretty much, you'd be hard pressed to find some place where you would not be able to listen to our podcast. TuneIn Radio app, if you want to use that. I mean, we are information security. We're whoring ourselves out real good. Can I say that word? No, probably not. I'll buzz that out.
I don't know.
Well, I'll catch hell for that, I'm sure. Yeah. So, that was it. Mr. Boettcher, are we going to be talking anywhere or doing anything?
Talking anywhere? I don't know. Well, I guess we're going to DerbyCon, right?
We're going to do our best to get some tickets for DerbyCon when they come out May 1st. Do we want to let people know that that's May 1st? Because I want to be able to get tickets before everyone else. So
too late. Cat's out of the bag.
Damn it. All right.
We can beat that too.
Well, I'll just have to hit F5 a lot faster, I guess. So, all right. Well, that was it for this week on Breaking Down Security. Oh, one last thing. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please feel free to hit us up at our Gmail account, bds.podcast@gmail.com. And we'd like to thank all of our Patreon supporters. If you find value in our podcasts, please feel free to leave something in the tip jar over there at Patreon. You can find us if you do some searching on there. So, and the link is in the show notes. So that was it for this week. Bringing down security. Everyone have a great week, and we will talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye. So yeah, things are looking up for my job.
Excellent.
And then you're making progress on the OSCP, so that ought to be pretty good.
Well, I was thinking about it on the way home, and I was trying to figure out how the buffer overflow works, and then I realized that you have to fill up the buffer, and then you've got 8 bits where you have to put the hex code in to where you want the memory portion to start. And then your payload is right after that.
You have to create a jump statement to your payload.
Yeah, I think that's in the next chapter. But yeah, something about a JMP like statement or something. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And a normal payload is about 350 to 400 bytes. So you have to have at least that much space to be able to put a proper payload in. So
Nice.
yeah. So it's a jump statement. My thing is the shell code doesn't match letters for me. It seems like there should be more letters in there or something, or like they put in EAX or slat or XEA is like a jump statement or something like that. When I was reading some of the shell code, it didn't look like it matched up a 1-for-1 value for a letter. So yeah, I got some other tutorials here I'm gonna read. I found a fairly decent one about reverse engineering at a place called primalsecurity.net. So I'm going to read up on that because I was having some questions about the different values and what an EAX or EBA or EBX is or ECX. And, so they go through those, what an accumulator is, the base register, the counter for used to hold a loop index. And then EDX is a data register. And then, they talk about jumping. So you got to be able to jump to a memory thing. So,
yeah, I did a little machine code or processor code simulation in college. So yeah, all that stuff is familiar.
Cool.
Yeah, you got all your registers and shit. There's probably a ton more than what you're going to touch, but that's all you need to do your buffer overflow, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I was that's what the no-op sled is. Okay. So instead of putting A's, you can put a X90, and then that's like there's nothing in that X90, so it just moves everything over. So once you fill up the buffer with your no-op sled, then you can put in the pieces. Yeah. So.
And a buffer is just a...
Yeah, see?
It could be like a string value, and it ends in null.
Yeah. See, I remember this XO90 thing, or X90 is the no-op command, so there's nothing there. It's like a null statement or something, so...
Yeah, it is a statement, but it's like, okay, processor, don't do anything. Just
and here's your jump statement as well. So I guess this is the buffer you have to fill to overflow. This is the value.
Is that a times 230?
Yeah, and then X43 times 366, and then you send user plus the buffer, and then carriage return and line feeds. So. And then they talk about we'd hit F7 to execute the jump ESP instruction and see where we land in our buffer of 43 Cs. So yeah, they're putting in 43 letter Cs to figure out where it ends up in the memory stack. So
cool.
Yeah, and this guy must have taken this directly from OSCP because then the one exercise is talking about the bad characters that you can't use for your payload for some reason. Sometimes certain characters won't print properly.
Well, the 00 is a null, so then that tells the operating system that's the end of the buffer, and you don't want that.
Yeah, you don't want
that. You want it to go over.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see that. And an A is probably a non-ASCII character, like a form feed or something for a printer.
Yep. So he's using MSF payload, MSF encode, trying to find the bad characters, which he had already enumerated. So you can use any and all of those characters in the shell code. But see, that's my thought. I'm like, when you move your character, it thinks you're trying to figure out where the mouse is, so it gets bigger. But yeah, so it sends the shell code. What I'm trying to figure out is what this means. What this decodes into. Is it like basically is this 6 characters like welcome to the pleasure dome or something? I don't know.
Well, you could stick that in a hex, something that'll translate ASCII, like hex to ASCII.
Yeah.
I bet you there's a online tool. Let's see, hex to ASCII.
Yeah, and I think I found a.
I'm still on images. Okay. Hex to ASCII text converter, rapidtables.com. Hex input. So
So you can just pop that in there, and it'll give you what you need.
Let me see. Blow up that one again.
Oh, no. Where is it?
Your string.
Oh, there it is.
Where's your string?
What's that?
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if you have to type in X. That's going to be \X6A.
Yep.
See what that does. Convert is a J.
Okay.
Okay. So I bet you if you go to...
I bet this is JMP.
Nice. Let me see.
X4F.
And then I'm going to... X4F. X59.
Mm-hmm.
Convert. JOY.
JOY.
Joy. Joy.
Yeah, see that didn't make... Okay, so...
JOY.
I guess I'm going to spend the night...
XD9. Yeah, you can just paste that into this hex to ASCII.
Put the link in the chat window, and I'll pop it in there and see what the hell it means.
I'm on a different computer on the internet, so I will paste it into the show notes, and then you can copy it from there.
That'll work.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's at the bottom.
Yeah.
Why don't you try that? You'll have to take out your
There we go.
your quotes.
Have to take the quotes out?
Probably. Well, just try it and see. Hit convert.
Oh. Well, that looks weird.
Joy.
That's not that's not what I thought it would be. That's interesting.
Oh, why?
It just happened to have a word at the beginning. After that, it's all junk. It probably means something to the computer, but I'm not sure. This is why I'd like to have somebody on to discuss what the hell it means.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, here's the conversion. So all the way to every one of the letters. It doesn't have all of them.
X6.
Yeah, X6.
What was the fourth one?
XD9.
D9.
D9.
So what's D9?
D9. Oh, it doesn't go that high.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
So it's not an ASCII. It's not an ASCII. So you need a hex to.
It doesn't have the full table here, but you can probably find it if you wanted to.
XD9. You need a hex to Unicode, I guess.
Yeah.
Hex value. Decode hex.
Well, if that's the case, then it's this U with the capital U with like the accent on it, the grave mark on it. Don't know what this one is though. Some here look like they might be Chinese characters. The coding inside 009C 0007. All right. Well, I can putz around with this later.
Yep.
I think I have a table somewhere where I can pull that up. So, like the full table from 0 to whatever. And actually, I have a Python script that I've got as an example for OSCP that I can, just have it print out all the characters that I need. So, okay, let's get rid of that link here, just in case. I don't want to have to accidentally copy it too. All right. So this one is actually pretty interesting. This link right here, traffic malware analysis. It has a PCAP of the Angler exploit framework.
Yeah, I was looking at that earlier.
Yeah. I mean, you can get a PCAP here, or you can actually get the artifacts and malware here.